this project was the most selfish thing that I ever did in my life. Initially, I created this project because I wanted to express my potential and not be stuck with my pain, with my trauma all the time. But 18 months of a painful spiritual awakening, and I realized that I cannot be selfish anymore. So I'm finally ready to share it with you. The reason I was willing to share it with everybody was because I knew that I was not the only person who was facing abandonment. I was not the only person who was forced to grow up in toxic family dynamics. And I was not the only person going through narcissistic relationships, selfish friendships. I was not the only person who was failing to reach her dreams because the pain was dragging her down. And I was not the only person who lost everything. However, I was the person who became a published author at the age of 18, who could get into every dream multinational company that I wanted to. I was the person who became a TEDx speaker, who ran businesses, mentored people, and did everything that I wanted to do. So I might not be great at many things, but I was good at one thing: turning my pain into my biggest power. As someone who has been journaling since the age of 10 and has always been told that I am too sensitive, too intense, too much, I was good at recognizing the patterns. So I was quick to notice that there is a pattern on the spiritual path of people like us. I recognized that it was not just me, and there were other souls exactly like me who were on this spiritual pattern where they were supposed to create impact and they are supposed to be changing lives, but they are stuck with their own pain, with their own trauma. Which is why I am honored to introduce you to the project of my dreams. Yes, a project. And why is it not a course? Because you don't need more external information. In fact, you need to let go of everything that you know about yourself, which is what we will be doing in this project as well. Come, let me show you this project from the back end so that you can understand the modules and get clarity on what you're signing up for. The first module is the Welcome Home Phoenix module, where I share with you my personal story, my personal Phoenix introduction. I tell you how to execute this project, how you can make the most out of this project. The second part of this module is the Dhyan module, which is a guided meditation that you need to execute before starting every chapter of this project. This is so that you can clear your mind, because we have been doom scrolling and we have a shorter attention span. It's just so that your slate can be clean. The third part is the Phoenix workbook. This workbook has to be printed immediately as soon as you enter the project. This has all the worksheets that are included in the entire project, all the modules included. Fourth part, and the most interesting part, is the three-dimensional research. When I was creating this project, I wanted to be sure, because I have trust issues and I just don't randomly trust people on the internet. I wanted to make sure that everything that I was putting out was backed up by spirituality, psychology, and science. So I went ahead and did a three-dimensional research in all these three fields so that everything that I have shared on this project is backed up. Next module is unawareness. The first part is understanding and identification. What is the purpose of your unawareness? Why does awareness come so late in your life? Because you are supposed to go through a certain conditioning. Your identity has to be built. Which brings me to the next part of this module, which is revealing, which has identity decoding worksheet, where we go through your entire childhood and understand what kind of an identity has been built for you. What is a common pattern that is there in your life journey? What is the theme of your spiritual path? Third part is the golden dust, where I share with you my personal inputs about this phase, what I went through, what is my personal inputs about it, what is my personal realizations about it. I believe trust is a two-way street, and golden dust is the part where I have come vulnerable to you so that you can trust me as well. Next module is collapse. It is one of the most important modules in this project. What is exactly collapse? To give you a hint, collapse is basically where your identity starts cracking, and each crack that you go through breaks your identity slowly and painfully. A lot of people also call it ego deaths, but I have called it collapse because it is a slow collapse of your old identity. It happens in multiple layers, multiple cracks happen so that you can let that identity go. First part is understanding and identifying when you're going through a crack, what is the purpose of it, what will it look like, what will it feel like, which comes to the second part, which is crack recognition worksheet. This is a worksheet where you recognize a crack. A crack is basically an incident which is a very painful incident that breaks you a little bit, that cracks your identity a little bit. It strips away a few illusions about a specific incident. This worksheet will help you take out the best parts out of that crack, analyze that crack so you can extract the most benefit of that crack or of that painful incident. You might have gone through multiple cracks in your life, multiple trauma breakdowns in your life. These are the incidents that are cracking you up. The third part is a crack checklist. How will you recognize that this is a crack in your identity and not just a random sad day in your life? This is a checklist that you need to see, which will tell you that this was a crack in your identity. Next part is a guidance on crack navigation, because let's be honest, a lot of us don't know how to go through a painful incident. We do know how to escape it. We use a lot of coping mechanisms to escape it. What we do is we end up wasting a crack by doom scrolling, smoking, drinking, binge eating, instead of actually processing it, going through it so that we can get the benefits out of that crack and let go of that identity. The fifth part, also one of my favorite parts, which is crutch navigation. Crutch is basically anything that you took up to cope from that crack. It could be any addictions, it could be smoking, drinking, binge eating, sleeping, hypersexuality, dating, casual hookups, anything that you used to cope up with the crack that you went through. Now, what happens is a lot of the times these crutches, we took them up to support ourselves, to help ourselves go through a difficult time, but eventually they took over you. Eventually, the crutch consumed you completely and it was no longer helping, it was destroying. Again, my favorite, golden dust, where I have shared how I went through my collapse, what were my crutches, what was my biggest realization, what was my biggest struggle in my collapse. Coming to the next module, which is purging, it has the first part, which is identification and purpose. Purging is basically where violently everything that is unaligned with you gets removed from your life. It could be people, jobs, city, opportunities, anything. From outside, it can look like you're losing everything. You're losing the people you love, you're losing the opportunities you got, you're losing the job, losing the city. It looks like a loss. But what is really happening is that God is resetting your life, realigning your life with your new identity. This is also the most intensely painful phase that a phoenix soul goes through. I went through it for 18 months because I was not willing to let it go. I was holding on to that identity for my dear life. Which is why in the second part, I've given the purging awareness worksheet. This worksheet will help you understand what is exactly happening in your purging phase, what is leaving, what is not leaving, what illusions are breaking, how is it cleaning up your old identity. This phase is also known as the dark night of the souls in the spiritual language. I have called it purging because I feel like this is a deep clean of your life. In the third part, I have given intense pain navigation. When I call it the most painful phase, it is the most painful phase because I have higher tolerance for pain and even I couldn't bear it. But what exactly do you do when you go through that kind of an intense pain? This is where I've given you the entire guidance on how do you navigate through that kind of pain which makes you want to kill yourself. Next part is the guidance video on deep isolation navigation. Now, why are we talking about isolation? Because on this path, you will go through deep isolating periods where you have nothing left and nobody left and you're entirely alone, all on your own. What do you do with that kind of loneliness? What do you do with that kind of isolation? This is a most beautiful phase the phoenix will go through, but it looks like the most painful phase that you're going through. So, how do you navigate the isolation? That is the most important thing for you, but also the most painful phase to go through. The last part of this module is shadow navigation guidance, where I have shared with you how do you navigate through your shadows that will come up in this purging phase. When everything is going away from you, when you're losing everything, all your dark shadows will come up. Everything you hate about yourself will come up. All the addictions that you had, all the toxic traits that you had, all the negativity that you had, will come up on the surface so that you can deal with it. And when it comes on the surface, this guidance video will tell you how to face it. The next module is initiation, where the first part is understanding what is initiation. After purging happens, the old identity is gone, but the new identity has not arrived. Initiation is basically the void, the space between the two identities, the one that you've let go and the one that hasn't completely arrived yet. The second part of this module is the final release. Everything that is residue from the old identity has to be finally let go so that you can get a clean slate for your new identity. This worksheet will help you let go of everything that is still pending in you, that is still bothering you, that is still hurting you, that is still making you angry. Even when you say that you have let go of something, you have let go of someone, have you really let go of them? This worksheet will close the final door on their face. The third part of this module is the most important part of this entire project, which is how to open your heart. When you're going through so much, you went through ego deaths, you went through the entire collapse, you went through the purging, it is time to open your heart so that you can start receiving the downloads, you can start receiving the intuitions, the ideas, the purpose that God has decided for you. I'm using the word God here, but you can use the word universe, Krishna, Jesus, whatever suits you. Guidance video will help you open your heart so you can actually receive what you're supposed to receive. Next module is the awakening module. This is a guided spiritual awakening that you can go through. Number one is the understanding and identification part. How will you identify that you are going through a spiritual awakening? What will it look like? What will it feel like? Second part is the truth. I have shared my version of the truth, my version of my awakening. What have I realized when I speak about self-realization, when I speak about my awakening? I have shared the truth in my words. This is not the ultimate version of the truth because truth can have many versions. But just listening to someone else's version of the truth will trigger your own version of the truth as well. This video will single handedly trigger your awakening. Third part is revealing, which is the divine purpose identification worksheet. This worksheet will help you reveal whether what you are working on is your divine purpose or not. Is this just a hobby, just something that you like, or is it your divine purpose? This is the worksheet that will make it clear for you. Last part of this module is embodiment of the new identity. This is where you lock in your new, authentic, true identity. This guidance and worksheet will help you embed the new identity in your reality so that you don't go off track again and again. Sixth module is integration module. Once you have gone through your spiritual awakening, once you have realized yourself, how will you integrate that into your 3D reality? This is where a lot of people struggle. Either they can be materialistic or they can be spiritual. But we are not a monk. We are living in our reality where we are supposed to be impacting life. So unless you can integrate your spirituality in your reality, it is all a waste. Which is why the first part is how will you identify the integration phase? What is the purpose of this phase? Why are you going through it? Second part is identity alignment checklist so that you do not waste your time on anything that does not align with your true self. The third part is intuition tapping guidance. A lot of the people are so out of touch with themselves that they no longer hear the voice of their intuition. This guidance video will help you tap into your intuition so that you can receive the guidance from your authentic self. Last part is navigating ego pop-ups. Anybody that says that after your awakening, you will forever be aware, forever be awakened, and you will never have ego, they are clearly lying to you, because your ego will continue to pop up because you're living in Maya, in illusion, in this game. There is no way to be aware and awake all the time. But when you do go through this ego pop-up phase, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This guidance video will help you. How do you stay awake while also participating in the illusion? And the last part, radiance, which is the final golden dust, where I have shared with you my final message, my final experience about creating this project and what you need to do next. Now, once you have gone through this project, it should take you ideally 1 week to go through the entire thing, one module per day. You can be crazy and do everything together, but I highly suggest going through one module per day only. Do not try to rush. This is a very deep internal work. So once you finish the project, I will be sending you a link to schedule a call with me one on one, where we will discuss with your journey specifically and not in general, where we will figure out anything that is blocking your path from the impact that you're supposed to be creating. Now, listen, before I go, I want to tell you something. Each thing that you go through in life is a puzzle that you need to unlock, and you can only unlock it when you let go of the illusionary self of you. And you can only let go of that self when you can clearly analyze and reveal the incident properly. And this project will help you do all of this. The reason the call is at the end of the project is because I only want to invest my energy with people who are ready to shift, not the ones who are still the victims of their situation. Now, this is what you need to do. If this project aligns with you, start the project, wrap it up in 1 week, and schedule the call with me. I'll see you on the other side.